Welcoming guys to my, I'm going to call this my day 1 and my day 2 reaction. Just put day 1 and day 2, apologies, day 1 and day 2 really in the same video because I didn't want to do separate videos because I was going to watch the whole like Thursday night, Friday night and give my thoughts on Saturday. So first off, again, I'm not going to go through everybody like in day 1, so I'm going to pick out a couple of things I liked in day 1 and a couple of things I liked in day 2 and things that some things in day 2 I just scratched my head with. So first off, I'm looking at the Giants as a negative. Off the bat here, why did the Giants draft Jackson Dark? Like they go for Jackson Dark in 25th, so they traded back. So fourth overall they got Abdul and they needed to address the defensive side of the ball anyway. That had to be addressed, understandably. But quarterback, you just got Russell Wilson, and then you're gonna have Jackson Dark. It's like you paid this money for Russell Wilson. Was it about a year? Was it a year? Probably a year. I've got to go back, but it probably was a year that you give Russell Wilson. And then you draft Jackson Dark. Now again, I like Jackson Dark. I scouted him. I talked about him. And him going in the first round, again, I had him go for second round originally. But him going in the first round, good. But him going to the Giants, they do need a quarterback. But why, if you're going to go for the young quarterback, then why did you pay that shit ton of money for Russell Wilson? I just don't understand that. And other thing that doesn't get me is that you're gonna have a new young quarterback. You're having a young quarterback under a head coach and a GM who's on the hot seat this season. They are absolutely, Brian Daboll and the GM are under the hot seat for the Giants in 2025, and now you're gonna have, when Brian Daboll gets fired during the 2025 season, and the GM, you're gonna have Jackson Dart next year in 2026. He's gonna be with a new head coach, a new GM, and the GM might not even want Jackson Dart next year. And the head coach and GM might be like, do we really want to have this quarterback? We want our own quarterback. You know what I mean? Sometimes you pick the head coach and they have a different system, a different mind. This just screams to me what the fucking Bears would do, or what fucking, again, typical fucking Giants fucking mindset. They go for a quarterback, which is great, but again, if you was gonna go for the quarterback before, even before the draft started, and you was gonna go for a quarterback, why did you go for Russell Wilson? Why did you keep Brian Daboll for 2025? It doesn't make it. It's just fucking Giants football, baby. But yeah, that's one of the things that I didn't like about the first round, is that you trade up for Dark, and he goes there under a head coach who's under enormous amount of pressure, and a GM who's under enormous amount of pressure as well. Because again, the GM, again, a new guys come in the front office, and a head coach are not gonna like it. They want their own guy. And then you have, which I didn't get here, is again, you have Stewart, defensive end for the Bengals. Now they drafted Shemar Stewart, defensive end from Texas A&M, 17th, the first round pick. Really? Was he a first round pick? I don't know. I don't think he's not a first round pick. I think, again, you needed to think about the defense. The defense had to be addressed going for the Bengals. It had to be one of those positions you had to work on and you had to address. But you really went for Shemar Stewart? Really? Okay, whatever. But you're in a championship winning mode now with a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow, and you're putting Shemar Stewart in the defense, trying to help your defense. I don't know about that. Questionable. Good. One thing I did like about this first round, and I hate saying it because I'm a Lions fan. I've got to say it. The Packers, they did good with this pick here when they picked 23rd overall, first round, 23rd pick overall, Matthew Golden, wide receiver. They needed a weapon around Jordan Love. They needed some more weapons around Jordan Love, absolutely. And I think that they have a great weapon here for Jordan Love. Yeah. again, I would have liked him with the Lions, but he's with the Cheeseheads, and that's the first time they've drafted a wide receiver in the first round for 23 years. So, yeah, he's a good pick. He's a good weapon for Jordan Love. He needs a weapon, so good business for um good business for the Packers. And then going down here, and then you've got James Pierce, which again, when I scouted him, I had him as a first round a couple of times in a couple of mock drafts that I did, but I had him really kind of low down. I'm like, I don't think because I saw his tape and I talked about it on camera, like how much I wasn't impressed with him on some things. So let's just, again, I feel like, to me, I wasn't impressed with the Ravens though. Another team that impressed me on day one was when they drafted Malachi Starks, a safety from Georgia. Again, the Ravens know. Again, this is what again you look at the Ravens front office. You can talk about John Harbaugh staying too long with the Ravens, and we talked about that. We talked about that to death. But what you cannot disagree with is that the Ravens have a GM that that knows what he's doing, can be coherent, and can actually form a team. It's just, again, when you get to the playoffs, it's you just have a head coach that fucking fumbles the ball on defense, and that's John Harbaugh. But yeah, good addition here to beef up that defense for the Ravens. And then for the Lions, obviously, Lions fan here. For the Lions, we got Tyreek Williams, defensive tackle from Ohio State. Now again, going into this draft, we had to prioritize the defense, especially when you had Aiden Hutchinson, who was the only guy in that defense last year, and he got injured for the other half of the season. He was putting up 7 sacks in a game. After that, Brian Branch put up like 5 sacks a game. So we had to address the defensive side of the ball. It had to be addressed. So again, Tyreek Williams in first round, I don't know about that. I was to say maybe second round, third round. But we got a defensive tackle, which we needed. So I'm impressed with that. And then you look at like the Bears here. What the fuck are the Bears doing? They needed a tight end going into this draft or the free agency, and they go for Tyler Warren. Oh, not Tyler Warren, apologies. I'm looking at something else. They go for Colston Loveland. Tight end from Michigan. But again, they passed on Tyler Warren, who's again from Penn State. I'm like, it just shows Bears football. Like, you drafted the wrong tight end. But again, that's gonna be your tight end one. That's gonna be your tight end for Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams going to you. Again, you need weapons for Caleb Williams. If you're the Bears, you need to get some weapons around Caleb Williams for you to. You needed some 4 starters on that offensive line. You need some new starters on that defensive side of the ball. So again, going for Colston Loveland, okay, whatever. Again, good addition for the Colts. Okay, now Tyler Warren. That was a good addition. Tyler Warren coming in for helping Anthony Richardson. That's impressive. And another good thing, I said this in my scout report. Jalen Walker going to the Falcons, working under Raheem Morris in Atlanta. That is a steal at 16 on Atlanta's defense side of the ball. Absolutely great. And then again, Travis Hunter went number 2. The Jazz went for Travis Hunter in that cornerback, wide receiver kind of thing. Depends where they're going to play him. Whether they can play wide receiver or they're going to play corner. And then Tyler Booker. I said it. There's a couple. I was saying the last back draft I did. He's going to be a first round pick. And Tyler Booker. They stayed where they were. They stayed in the right position they were. The Cowboys didn't trade up or trade away. They didn't trade away from the position, but Tyler Booker going to the Cowboys. Jerry Jones may know what the fuck. Yeah, again, Jerry Jones might have got something right here, which is good. And then you had Will Campbell going to the Patriots, which again, Patriots had a good draft overall, day 1, day 2, but getting Will Campbell, I didn't rate him too much when I saw his tape. A steal though for me is Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders. Again, you're the Raiders. You've got an old head coach in Pete Carroll. No disrespect, Pete Carroll's a legend, but you have got an old head coach. You got Geno Smith as your quarterback. You're in the win mode. You're in the win now mode instead of thinking what you have. Then you can figure it out later. Then looking at the other kind of additions here, like you have, like I want to say here, Swessinger going in the second round was a great deal for the Brown, for the skid marks. Like he was pretty good. Like I don't want to give the fucking Browns any credit, but credit there. Then you have Trey Amos going for the Commanders. I was really impressed when I scouted him. I think he's gonna be a good addition on that defense side of the ball for Dan Quinn. You have T.J. Sanders going. I think he wasn't a bad choice. One thing I had going to the Bills, T.J. Sanders, great addition. Also you had Nick Sorton going to the Panthers, which again you need to work on that defense side of the ball. Great addition. Tyler Sau, whatever, I can't pronounce his last name. Tyler Sau is a quarterback from Louisville. Like I don't understand why the Saints why is Mickey Thomas still the GM of this team, but he's drafted a fucking almost 26-year-old quarterback who has massive injuries. And again, you could have got Shedeur Sanders, who went in the 4th round. That was kind of the biggest shot. Big shot to me where Shedeur Sanders landed. Now I'm not going to cover 4th and 5th round, but he did go in the 4th round to the skid marks. Again, poor guy. Poor fucking, no respect people live in Cleveland, but poor guy. Yeah, he went to the skid marks. But again, you're telling me that Shedeur Sanders isn't better than Tyler Stow, who went to the Saints. Again, you would think Shedeur Sanders would go for Kilmore and, well, just Mickey Williams here. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But you think the Saints might go for, let's go for Shedeur Sanders. He's better than fucking Tyler Saddle, who's a fucking 26-year-old quarterback and has injury problems. And then there's a couple more. Mike Green here, defensive end, going to Baltimore. Again, they know what they're doing in the draft. I talked about it before, but fantastic addition. Trey Harris going to the Chargers. Again, that again a great weapon for Justin Herbert. And then Luther Budgeon going to Bears football. He's going to work for them. He's going to be another great weapon for Caleb Williams. And then a couple more I'm going to talk about here. You had Dylan Gabriel going ahead of Shedeur as well, which is crazy. Then you had Will Johnson again going for the Cardinals. Cardinals need to work on their defense. Good addition for them as well. Overall though, yeah, this draft to me again, winners coming out of this draft, you gotta say, for me, has got to be the Ravens. They were great in this draft. They picked their moments. Chiefs were great as well. For the day one. Then they had that pick and they trade that. They're like, now the Chiefs are getting it. We're not giving you Jared Campbell. We're not giving you Jared Campbell. We're gonna have Jared Campbell, which is a steal. I do like that addition. I think it's a good. They took it away from the Chiefs. The Chiefs got Josh Simmons, left tackle, Ohio. Then you got Jack. You got Anthony. Belton again, but I do like it. Well, Anthony Belton came in, a tackle. He's going to help Jordan Love in the trenches, which is needed. And then you had Caleb Johnson, running back. I do like Caleb Johnson coming in, running back from Iowa. That is a good addition. And they drafted Will Howard's come in for the Steelers in the 4th round, which I'm like, if I'm the Steelers, again, Shedeur Sanders. again, Will Howard's good, but I was like, Shedeur Sanders. I know, like, people were like, oh, I was hoping that maybe Shedeur Sanders. I think the biggest loser out of this draft was Shedeur Sanders. And I think that is the reason, not because he didn't go first, because I don't think he knew he wasn't going to go first round, but just for, like, he went ahead of some average quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel and stuff, but that's whatever. But overall, leave you guys' thoughts on what you think of this draft in the comments. Who was the winners in your eyes? Who was the losers? I will in a couple of days have my draft grade. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and talk. I'm gonna talk about every single NFL's draft grade and how they did, and give my full thoughts. I'm just here today to give you like a review of what I thought of day 1 and day 2 of the draft. So this is a day 1 and day 2 review, thoughts, whatever. Giving you my thoughts on the whole draft. But yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments, guys. I'll be back probably tomorrow if I can get a video out tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be definitely Monday. And I'm gonna grade everybody's draft and see how good they really were. Bye, guys.